In other news now, the basic income grant would be a welcome relief for millions of South Africans, and it could be one step closer to becoming a reality after it was endorsed by a panel that was appointed by the Department of Social Development. The South African Federation of Trade Unions has welcomed the panel's report. Its spokesperson is Trevor Shaku, who's joining us now just to give us an idea what has come out of this. Mr. Shaku, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. The basic income grant to many people is a no-brainer. Judging by what, for example, the extra 350 Rand special COVID relief money that's been paid to people since last year has done in assisting the poor of the country. So for you as SAFTU, what are you excited about that has come out from this panel's recommendations?
Thanks, Dan, and good afternoon to your viewers. The South African Federation of Trade Unions welcomes the report produced by a panel which looked into the appropriateness and the feasibility of introducing basic income grant. Now, one of the positive pointers which we looked for, and of course we found in the report, is that indeed the panel found that the basic income grant is necessary, and there is also feasibility of it in terms of financing modalities. However, we were able to also pick up certain hesitancy within the report itself that showed that the panel itself, restricting itself within the fiscal neoliberal framework, tries by all means to merely premise funding of this basic income grant on taxing the wealthy, but even then it is hesitant and tries by all means to be apologetic in that it cautions that such kind of wealth taxes must not be introduced and discourage those people who are in the bracket of the rich and the wealthy. So in that sense, we indeed welcome the report, because this is what the South African Federation has been calling for. The introduction of the basic income grant at 1,500. The only other problem which we have is that the report says that whilst appreciating and indeed saying that the basic income grant must be introduced, they say going into next year, there must be a phased-in implementation process. And this phased-in implementation process must start first by taking forward what is already there. That is the COVID social relief of distress grant. That is at the value of 350 at this current moment. It must carry it into the financial year of 2022-2023. That is where the South African Federation of Trade Unions has a problem with the report, because ours is that this basic income grant must be introduced at the value of 1,500.
Okay, so just to clarify a couple of things that we can unpack. Let's start there. Do you welcome or not the extension of the 350 Rand? Or are you saying instead of the 350 Rand, from the beginning of the new financial year in March 2022, the 1,500 basic income grant must come into force?
Yes, we welcome the report because it recognizes the need for the basic income grant. What we do not welcome is that the 2022-2023 social relief of distress grant must be institutionalized as 350, but now as the basic income grant. So in that sense, we are saying from 2022 to 2023 financial year, going forward, 1,500 must be introduced as a basic income grant.
Okay, so not 350 Rand. Okay, now where could the funding come? Because each time I've interviewed people here on eNCA, Mr. Shaku, about the basic income grant, which to many seems like a no-brainer, and even economists are arguing in favor of it very strongly, that it will boost the economy. People are saying, but where will the monies come from? You've mentioned that tax could be used. You're saying there should be a wealth tax. Did I hear you clearly?
Yes, there are a number of school of thoughts which have emerged to try to put a way forward, not only on the basis of the financing of basic income grant, but also on the general financing of the fiscus in this country, on social goods and services for the public. Now, we say that using the conventional methods of financing or of economics, at least in the fiscal framework, there must be taxes that are introduced which would ensure that there is sustainability of this particular grant. We propose that there must be wealth tax. The country, the country has 1% of the population owning more than 50% of the wealth of this country. That particular portion of our society must be taxed. But secondly, that there must be some consumption taxes which are introduced. Consumption taxes on luxury goods, on goods that are harmful, and even carbon taxing. Those particular taxes must be channeled towards financing this. But on top of that, the South African Federation of Trade Unions goes forward to propose that currently we stand in a country that loses more than 400 billion yearly on illicit financial flows. Now, as a result, we say that particular money must be taken and reprioritized, must be salvaged and be used to fund the basic income grant.
Okay, what would you say? How would you respond to people who say currently South Africa is overtaxed? The
general working class, that is the ordinary working class, who are, of course, earning less. Yes, in that sense, they are being taxed overly. In that sense, because the rising inflation in the country makes and devalue the levels of wages that they are getting. Now, in that sense, and it is for this reason that we are specific with our propositions of taxation to fund the basic income grant. One of those, and that is the reason why we target luxury goods, we target wealth, the 1% wealthy part of the population which owns the wealth of this country. So we are not proposing a blanket taxation on our people, but we are proposing taxation on specific parts of this population who currently are sitting on a lot of money and they are not even utilizing it to invest in the country. A research group at the University of Johannesburg researched 2 or 3 years ago and found that there was 1.4 trillion rands of investable money, which is sitting and is not being invested back into the economy. That is the money that should be taxed so that we are able to introduce the social security grants in terms of basic income grant. And maybe let me make this point also, because this is very important, that we are sitting with a country where the deficit of unemployment and poverty, if not mitigated through the introduction of the basic income grant, you will then find that there is an increased violence and crime in this country, because 12.5 million as of the Q3 of 2021, 12.5 million in this country of people are not employed. And of those, 49% of black women are not in any form of employment. 77.4% of youth are also not in employment. Where should these people be able to survive? How do these people supposed to subsist?
Okay.
And
so,
in that sense, then you are going to find problems, and that is the reason why basic income grant is a very sensible measure to alleviate this problem.
Yeah, and in your view as SAFTU, like many other economists, as we've heard from this panel that has given a thumbs up, is that a basic income grant will go a long way to help those 12.5 million unemployed South Africans to survive in these times. Thank you very much for your time at this hour. Trevor Shaku, speaking on behalf of Trade Union Federation, SAFTU.